Good afternoon and welcome. My name is John. I am from Orphan Car Garage and I am in Abington, Massachusetts, about 30 minutes south of Boston. The car we have in front of us today is a 1960 model Edsel Ranger. I thought long and hard about doing a video on this, and I almost didn't do a video on this car because it's not quite in the condition that we're used to trading here at Orphan Car Garage. But the more I looked at this car and the more I thought about it, the more I said to myself, yeah, this car deserves a YouTube video. It's so unique and so rare and such a good running car. There was no need to not at least do a quick video walk around of this real piece of automotive history. So you're asking yourself, wow, I never knew they made a 1960 Edsel. Most people don't know they made a 1960 Edsel because they only made them for just over 2 months. They were introduced in September of 1959 and they were all done by November 19th of 1959. Just barely over 2 months of production. 2,846 of these cars were built. That's it for the model year 1960. And of the 2,846, about 1,200 of them were Ranger sedans like what we have here in front of us. This particular car is very unique. It came out of Alabama, from the best we can tell, in the early 1980s. A gentleman in Western Massachusetts purchased it from Alabama, out of the Edsel Club, and kept it for decades in Western Massachusetts. And he used it quite regularly as his mode of transportation in his retirement. Got some Fort McClellan parking stickers there from Alabama. Another one here on the back. While we're back here, I'll show you the very unique Edsel rear end. Overall, the car is very reminiscent of any 1960 full-size Ford. Styling had definitely dwindled down and been washed down since the iconic 1958 model introduction. Sadly, it had kind of turned into just a basic Ford sedan by 1960, with the exception of this very unique and cool rear end design. That's unique to the Edsel. So again, brought here from Alabama in the early 1980s. That gentleman in Western Mass owned it for decades. I actually knew him quite well. He was also in the Corvair circles, and I've been in the Corvair circles since the 1980s. 48,000 miles on the odometer, and we have every reason to believe that that is correct and original. The Massachusetts title we have for the vehicle backs that up. Most of the seafoam green paint is original. Obviously, it's not all original. Someone gave a quick spray to that hood, and we believe the left front fender's been painted because it doesn't quite match the door. But other than that, we have every reason to believe that the rest of this paint is original and obviously well patinaed. Why well patinaed? Well, sadly, as the gentleman got older, he let the car kind of fall into disrepair as far as how he stored it. He spent a lot of time outside in his yard under pine trees. And pine trees can do a number on any vehicle. I'm not a fan of pine trees. This car was sent to auction about 3 years ago when he finally needed to go into nursing care. So as you can imagine, the pine trees really did a number. All these troughs were packed with pine needles. The trough for the trunk lid packed with pine needles, and the water needs those troughs to drain out. So obviously, if the troughs are clogged, the water has nowhere else to go but inside the vehicle. As a result, this vehicle needs a trunk floor. The trunk floor in this car is in tough condition. Thankfully, that's not a horrible piece to try to fabricate. Thankfully, from the trunk floor forward, this car underneath is extremely solid. It has a nice solid frame and floorboards, and I have pictures of those on my website. Interior of the car is very original. Door panels are very, very nice. Obviously, you can see there's some surface rust. Nothing through, surface rust. The back seat is original. That cool Edsel embossment there in the middle. Nice door panels. I can't get over the door panels. The back seat looks like it's never been sat in. Sadly, because it sat outside here for a while in New England, the backs of the seats were exposed to the sun and deteriorated the back of the back seat. If it hadn't been for that, the seat would be in perfect A1 condition. Excuse me, the front seat wasn't so lucky. There was a cover over the front seat. Original door panel there, just some discoloring here. There's a cover over the seat, and it needs to be there. The original upholstery is under it. I've seen it. It's in really tough shape on the driver's side. Passenger side, not so bad, but extremely torn and worn here on the driver's side. But it is original under this Navajo aftermarket seat cover. Very well presented dash. This car doesn't have a lot as far as extra cost options. There's no power steering in this car. There's no power brakes in this car. Obviously no air conditioning. One thing that I found really cool was it does have a clock, and if you look closely, the clock still works. The clock works. This is the first vintage car I've had with a clock where the clock actually still works. I'm actually in amazement, because generally 2 or 3 years down the road when those were new, they stopped working. AM radio works beautifully. I'll start it up for you now. In case anyone wants to know, the VIN number, serial number is in the Edsel registry. So this car has been recorded in the Edsel registry. Now, just recently, the car needed to be put into neutral to start. So obviously there's a neutral safety switch issue there. I mean, that's literally as of yesterday. It always started in park until yesterday. So now we put it in neutral to start. 49,850 miles, and we believe that to be correct. Starts up like that every time. Lots of mechanical work's been done to this car. It's completely turnkey. You could drive this car anywhere. I wouldn't hesitate one bit. Very well sorted and correct engine bay. You can even still see some of the factory chalk marks there. Obviously far from a Pebble Beach show winner, but just such a cool car. Listen to that thing, it runs like a top. And anytime we get in this car, no matter how long it sits, half a turn of key, it fires right up, just like this. Idle's nice, just where it's supposed to be. Front end of the 60 Edsel's rather unique as well. That iconic 1958 horsehair grille had been reduced to just this by 1960. Overall, the look of a full-size Ford for 1960, other than the unique grille. So it's just a really cool car that deserves a second chance on life, or maybe a third chance by now. That's a 292 V8, by the way, in case someone asks. You could get a straight 6 in an Edsel. I had an Edsel with a straight 6. I'm glad this car has the V8. Automatic 3-speed, Ford-O-Matic transmission, I believe they called it. And like I said, mechanically this car is ready to go. The brakes and the suspension have been done, it's tuned up. Carburetor's been tuned. Runs like you hear it now. I would not hesitate to drive this car on a long trip. If you're into patina, this is your car. Again, the trunk floor in this car will need immediate attention. I will show you that on my website, orphancargarage.com. There's plenty of pictures of the trunk. Sadly, it succumbed to those pine trees in western Massachusetts. So we have this car here on consignment. Orphan Car Garage pricing's no different. $6,900. $6,900 for this one of 2,846 made 1960 Edsel models. This is a Ranger sedan, of which they made about 1,200. Nice patina, nice survivor, nice running car. Unless you don't like something that you see, you really could just leave it as is and enjoy it as is. Turn the key and have fun for under $7,000. This car was just passed Massachusetts safety inspection, and we have a clean Massachusetts title to pass on to the next owner. Give me a call, 508-954-8090. Check me out on the web. There's a lot of pictures of this car, the trunk floor included. www.orphancargarage.com. Find us on Facebook, and of course, subscribe to us here on YouTube. Until next time, happy motoring.